Well, welcome back, man. It's our favorite time of the week, and I got the dream team with us, Alex and Cody. They are here to make you rich. Okay, no, they're not. But we're here to talk about prize picks. Make sure you use the promo code Orange Bloods. Play $5, you get $50 instantly. It's our favorite time of the year. We love to talk about it. Alex and Cody, Prize Picks has come out with a line that's really interesting. They came out with a Contravian Wisner line. And what's interesting about that is that they're putting him right around 1,000 yards. I'm trying to put this up on my screen, but I'm not finding it for some odd reason. 1,000 yards. If you guys get it, put it up for me. The question becomes, Alex, when you start seeing a season total for Wisner at about 999.5 yards, your thoughts are what as far as that is concerned?
Let me see if I can just do the screen share here just from my prize picks account. And so we're Wisner. So yeah, Wisner, 999.5 season rushing yards. So, and I think as you pointed out earlier, you look at like the Nate Frazier's at 749.5, Jade Knott at 699.5, Jam Miller, 799.5, all the SEC guys, Ahmad Hardy, Missouri, 899.5. I think on all the prize picks, he's the leading, it's the highest season long total among, Caden Durham's at 774. It's the highest season long total among, um, among SEC running backs.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll admit, Cody, I think you've probably gone a little bit more into the prospecting of the 2026 NFL draft than I have, and I realize that when we talk about the best running back in the conference, it might not always be somebody that's even draft eligible, right? Mm-hmm. But is Trey Wisner worthy of the consideration to say maybe coming into? I don't view Trey Wisner as a running back that I would consider the top running back in the SEC.
Did you vote for him in your all SEC voting?
No,
I know he finished at the top, obviously, but I didn't even put him in my top 5.
I think I had him. Well, you had to put a list of like 4 or 5, didn't you?
Yep,
he was in there, but the guys I had in there were I definitely had Caden Durham ahead of him. I had
Nate Frazier and Jade Knott.
Nate Frazier, not Jade Knott. I might have had Le'Veon. I forgot if I had Wisner ahead of Le'Veon Moss. But I think I had him in my top 3 or 4. It's odd to me that he would be sitting here at the 999.5. We were discussing it before we came on the show. And so on one hand, you have, okay, Steve Sarkisian has never not had the 1,000-yard rusher. This is his number 1 running back coming into the season. People are worried about C.J. Baxter's health. I'm becoming less and less worried about C.J. Baxter's health with every passing report that we get from practice. I don't know about you guys. I think I don't know. It feels like whenever last year, it's like there was all the injury stuff. Christian Clark wasn't available. CJ Baxter wasn't available. And even then, this is a regular season total. What did we say? If we just went by the regular season last year, what do you get? 812 yards in the regular season?
812 yards. So when we do season totals, everyone has to remember it does not include the playoff games. It doesn't include the conference championship game. We're just talking 12 games. In 12 games, he had 812. And now they're saying, okay, we're going to bump this up to 999.5. You take the more or the less on that one.
I mean, to me, that's an easy less. There was only two running backs last year in the SEC that had north of 1,000 in those 12 games. Dylan Sampson and Jarquez Hunter, who both obviously are off to the draft now, but I would say I have to go south of that because we have to assume we're going to get a healthier CJ Baxter for longer.
Dude, here Trey Wisner is I can't see Trey Wisner taking. Dude, Dylan Sampson last year for Tennessee took over football games. Jarquez Hunter, before every one of these coaching availabilities, I've said it a million times, Cody, but we love to listen to the Wednesday coaches call, like a couple of completely maniacal freaks, right? And I turn that thing on Wednesdays and just listen to it in the background while I'm doing my film work. And I was just, every time a team would be getting prepared for Auburn, they would just always say, like, look, first and foremost, we have to stop Jarquez. We got to just, like, if we can't stop Jarquez, it's gonna be a long day for us. I don't hear opposing coaches say all right, first thing right out of the gate is like, okay, gosh, we can't let Trey Wisner beat us. And not to say that I'm not saying Trey Wisner is bad, or that's not to belittle him, or not saying that's something that he couldn't become. I don't foresee him becoming the same force that Dylan Sampson was at Tennessee last year.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's what we're talking about, to get to 1,000 regular season yards, yeah, dude, this isn't. I mean, anything could happen, but the situation has gotten noticeably worse for him. The competition is tougher for touches.
Well, that's
right?
what I was going to ask you, right? Is and Cody, I'll ask you this. We all know that Sark loves CJ Baxter, right? I mean, I think that is a thing that, he started talking more about him, how excited he was for, as the scrimmage. If CJ Baxter is back to being that healthy dude that Sark has wanted to be his number one back, I mean, is there a possibility at some point this season, Cody, that CJ Baxter, if he stays healthy, eclipses Wisner as the number one back?
Would that shock anybody? No, I don't think it should.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock us. I think is the thing is, like, Wisner's not built to do what he did those 2 weeks against Kentucky and A&M when he took on 59 carries in a 2-week span. He's not built for that. He's actually, I think he's down 3 or 4 pounds from last year's size. I think it's like 193, 182. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he's lighter. That's not the prototypical running back size you would expect to be taking on, potentially 200 carries in the SEC, which I think is what's going to take you to get anywhere near 1,000 yards. When I think of like a healthy Baxter at 220 pounds, you think of a guy like that, where when you do get through, the September, G5 games, you get to Florida, you get to Oklahoma, you get to these games, like that's when I expect Baxter to take that step up. And I've told Alex this a number of times on our show at night. It's like, I wouldn't even really generally push Baxter until like that bye week before Florida. Like, I don't even want him to worry about like forcing it to get out there against Ohio State, forcing it to get out there against Sam Houston. I want him to be prepared for SEC play. And at that point, it's like, yeah, Wisner's already got a month under the bag. He could probably rack up a couple hundred yards, but will they get 1,000-yard rusher? I'm not the most confident in that this year. And I think it could be because of just that we could see Baxter take on the lead dog role at some point in the season. And it's more of like a 60-40 split.
And Anwar, here's the other thing too. It's like, this isn't, we're talking about the number one team in the country, right? So So it's not like I'm here throwing shade at the Texas Longhorns. I believe it's a very good team, but we're trying to figure out whether or not this is a good pick to make on your prize picks entry. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that it's smart to say that the offensive line is going to be able to open up the same kind of holes and the same kind of run lanes that they did last year. I think that they're going to come along and be fine. I have all the faith in Kyle Flood that a human could possibly have in some kind of coach that he barely knows. But I look at them. We've seen the reports. We've seen the stuff from practice. We understand that, they're not getting as good a push as they, you would have reasonably expected. And hey, that's a credit to some of the defensive linemen that Texas brought in. Those guys, it looks like they're getting good early returns, especially on some of the transfers. Alex January coming along, right? We keep hearing these names pop up. The interior of that offensive line is having a little bit of a hard time getting the same push that I think that they were able to get from, dudes who, say what you will about, Hayden Connor, and say what you will about Jake Majors. Both those guys are in NFL camps right now. Jake Majors wasn't drafted, but he's going to make the Bucs 53. Hayden Connor was a 6th round pick. He's in the mix to be the second team left guard for the Arizona Cardinals. So and that's before you even start to talk about Cam or talk about Kelvin Banks, who had the highest PFF grade of the whole preseason in his first NFL showing. So I think that's another thing. It's like if you're looking for reasons why this is probably a fade as far as taking the more, nothing against Trey Wisner. It's just this is about the situation, and we're here to analyze the team and give our advice on it. I think the less is a pretty strong play.
Let me ask you this, Alex. Is there any part of you when you look at the month of September and you look at San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston State, right? So and then you got Florida and Oklahoma, right? But then they're Kentucky. It's a night game. They still play Mississippi State. Like, is there any part of you look at it and say, okay, well, there could be some if he stays healthy, there could be some games where he can get over 100, or do you do not think there will be enough of them to get you over 1,000?
Well, that's the constant, like that's the constant struggle of the cupcake games in these pick'em contests, right? Because you have to think about yourself. You have to think to yourself, what's the on one hand, you think to yourself, well, it should be a really good game script, right? They're gonna get up on this team and they're gonna run the football. They're gonna want to end the football game. They're gonna take the air out of the football. What do you do when you get a big lead on teams? You run at them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. The bad part in the college football sense is, especially with the young depth that Texas has, Texas is gonna want to get looks at everybody. They're gonna want to get a look at Christian Clark out there. They're gonna get a look at Jarrett Gibson out there. Like once you get to SEC play, that's a meat grinder, dude. That's a rock fight every single week. It doesn't matter. You go into Kentucky and stub your toe. You could be in for some kind of knife fight with those guys. It's just like things just happen, and so. You think to yourself, how much Christian Clark or Ricky Stewart or James Simon am I going to see in those games? It's like, no, you're going to see him versus the San Jose States versus the Sam Houstons. And so even in those games where the game script looks like it's good, where Texas looks like it's a 28-point favorite, like, oh gosh, they're going to run all over these guys. Trey Wisner's going to go ballistic. Well, maybe he goes ballistic until the first drive of the third quarter. And then you just don't see him again. Like you might not get that pure volume that you need. And as Cody mentioned earlier, it's like that pure volume that you would need to get it done through the SEC schedule. It's hard to see too many games falling the way of what was it, Cody? It was A&M and Florida, Kentucky, right? It's just like, and then you notice after those games, I don't know if it was you can't say it all had anything to do with one another, but after that big workload, man, that guy petered off down the stretch. I don't know if it had to do with the workload in those two games, but I view this running back room as good. And I think it's good not only because Trey Wisner is good, but I think it's good and deep with a good diversity of skill sets between the different running backs. And I think those are skill sets that you're going to need to put to use to make sure that you keep guys healthy, especially with a team that just has it so fresh on the front of their mind what it's like to lose two really key guys as far as cogs in your operation.
All right, Alex, you can take the share screen down, and I'm going to put something up to help Cody here as well. Cody, let's start with you, and then Alex, you chime in whenever you want to. But of what's left, if we say Wisner is the less, when you see, and I'm going to give you two screens. So we'll have this one and then another one. Is there anything that you like as far as the season-long totals, the more or the less on your screen?
Well, I think first and foremost, and I wrote a couple of these down as the screens have been rolling by, is in the SEC, I like Ahmad Hardy. Ahmad Hardy, Texas fans might remember Ahmad Hardy's name from UL Monroe last year. He had 1,300 yards for UL Monroe, majority of that coming after the Texas game. He's now at Missouri. And he follows in line with this last 3 years where they brought in Cody Schrader from Truman State. He rushes for 1,600 yards, leads the SEC. You got Nate Noel last year who came from App State, shared the backfield a little bit, was kind of banged up, but he still rushed for 800 yards for Missouri. Now you got Ahmad Hardy who's ran for 1,000 yards, lower level of play. But this is they're going to lean into Ahmad Hardy here. And Missouri actually has a pretty favorable schedule. And it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if he was closing in on this number before Halloween this year.
Wow. Anybody else on the screen that you like, Cody, before we throw it over to Alex? What do you think about Le'Veon Moss or even from the Oklahoma perspective, Jaden Ott, like at 699.5?
Ott's interesting, but to me, it's like Ott 2 years ago. If you would have given me this number, I would have probably gave you my life savings. But I'm not the most in belief of his health. One and two, this last week we've learned that there's potential that two of these freshmen, Fasusi and Fage, are going to potentially start and play a good chunk for Oklahoma. And as good as Bedenbaugh might be, I don't know if I really believe and want to risk him as like my third or my fourth guy in this thing. So I would take the Wisner under, the Hardy over, and then the last one I would run in there is Caden Durham, the running back from LSU, who had 700 yards last year in the regular season. They put this number at 774 now at LSU. He has Caleb Jackson by his side, true freshman Harlem Berry, who runs a 4.3. But I think that they're going to give this thing to Caden Durham for the full season. 774 yards on a good football team, I think, is a little shallow. And my two favorites to lead the conference in rushing would be Hardy and Durham.
Mm. Alex, what about you? I like what Cody's saying. What about you?
Okay. Okay. So I do think with okay. So let me just what is Durham's again? I'm having trouble finding it.
774.5.
774.5. Okay, so yeah, so I'm with Cody on that one as far as the more, and the reason why is kind of has to do with what we heard at SEC Media Days and just the way that Brian Kelly's talking about his football team this year, and also just from the fans and just everybody, the media, the disappointment in their run game from last season, right? It feels like a team that really feels like they need to. It's like, Cody, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it feels like what is it? The word I'm trying to think of, like the mandate from the fan base and from everybody else is that the defense needs to get better and you guys need to learn how to run the football.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that and you can't lose in week one again for the fourth straight year. Right. It's like those are the things that they want to happen. And you've heard Brian Kelly say it's like, it feels like he's put the same emphasis on that as a guy like Mike Elko has at Texas A&M and saying, we got to have the back end of the defense be better. We can't get thrown on. We can't have these balls going over our heads the whole time. It really feels to me like one of the stories of the season with those guys is we need to get back to playing hard-nosed football, playing good defense, running the football, playing an SEC brand of ball. We got a great quarterback. We have good returning pieces. And we can't lose in that first game. It feels like that's kind of the mandate. So I do like Caden Durham there because I just like his talent and I like the way it matches up with the narrative that I just laid out. And then the other one to me is just Jaden Ott. And I get why I think look, if he's anything like what the Oklahoma fans would tell you that he is, or gosh, especially with Jim Nagy, who is you talk about CJ Baxter being Sark's boo. Jaden Ott is Jim Nagy's boo. I mean, that guy he's like, he would have been at the Senior Bowl last year if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, all that. And I understand he did get hurt. He was not as good last year. But if you look at the season before last, I don't have the exact numbers pulled up, but I know it was more impressive. It was more impressive from an advanced analytical standpoint and just from a pure raw numbers counting standpoint. And 699.5 to me for him, if that's going to be their lead horse, and if they're going to take a step forward this next season with the threat of a running quarterback that could be taking some eyes off of him, like I kind of think that that's easy, dude. I think he could have. I think he could have a year where he fails to live up to his expectations at Oklahoma and still beats that 699.5.
Anything else that you like? Let me ask you this, Cody. Ohio State, James Peoples. I know he's in a competition right now. If he wins the starting job, are we going to believe that Ohio State doesn't have 1,000-yard back?
That's an interesting one because CJ Donaldson, coming from West Virginia, was kind of my expectation of just being the guy this year, and then doing some behind enemy lines stuff this week for my column. I learned, like you, like that James Peoples is very much in this battle. I think there's probably a solid chance, but the thing is, like, I don't think Peoples and Donaldson are at the same level, obviously, that Quinshawn and Travion were last year. I think those guys both finished right at, gosh, was Quinshawn? Let me check here. Quinshawn was right at 1,060.
Quinshawn definitely had over 1,000.
He was at 1,060 on the whole season, so that was counting the playoffs. And Travion was at 1,016, and those are both in 16-game seasons. And I think both of those guys are far superior.
Travion had 1,016 rushing or scrimmage?
1,016 rushing.
Wow, okay.
And 1,060 for Quinshon. And now
Travion is such a good dude. He looks so good for the Patriots. I can't get over
I think we're all on the same page that Ohio State, first off, team, offensive line is better than it is today. I think both those backs are far superior to Peoples and Donaldson. They also seem to like this Bo Jackson kid, which has no relation to Bo Jackson. But I don't know. I don't know. If it's a split backfield like it was last year, I don't think either of these guys gets to 1,000.
Before we head out, guys, NFL preseason, you guys are hard and heavy into everything. Is there anything from a preseason perspective? I know, Alex, you were hanging on for dear life on Quinn Ewers over the weekend. You finally got the more, but
by half a yard. We got swindled on that dude because he was supposed to get the whole second half.
Yeah,
so second half, and then they let stupid Zach Wilson come back in to start the third quarter, and then who were they playing? Was it the Bears or the Bears were playing the Jack? No, it was the Bears, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dolphins, Bears.
Yes,
yeah, and the Bears get the ball back, and it's like it was a quarterback Chase Daniel that was in there. He led a long drive. It wasn't until like 3 minutes left in the third quarter that Quinn even gets in there. And then Quinn gets sack fumbled and all this stuff. And you're like, oh gosh, if they have another long drive, we need 70 yards in the next, 5 minutes. He ended up getting there. And that was good that one that hit, because I had that paired up with the Tyson Bagent more. As far as this weekend, Cody, I haven't done much of a look into, do we know?
I don't know if they have anything posted as of this recording, actually, Alex, as I look at
it. I have one.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on. Wait. Do we have it?
Yeah, we have numbers up for a couple.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So, Cody, do we know? So Atlanta is practicing with the Titans this week. Do we know whether Penix and Drake London and the starters and stuff are going to get any? Do we know whether they're going to play yet?
I'll be honest. They just wrapped up their second practice, and I just pulled up Teron Davenport's report to read it, and I haven't read it yet because we're on the show. But that was going to be like my next thing after I get off of here. So I'm not sure on that game specifically.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that I've noticed from some of the reporting is apparently Drake London has just been eating their lunch in the secondary, and they've been getting all kinds of questions about it. I think even if they just got like one drive, if they got a Drake London thing up there for like 18.5 yards because he's just gonna play one drive, I think he'll get that. They've just been talking about what a menace he's been. I don't see that one up yet, so I don't know, man. I think that maybe this Carolina one on
That's
Saturday.
Are
you talking about Jimmy Horn or Ted McMillan?
Jimmy Horn had five targets last week, 4 for 15, and he's in a tough battle right now for that receiver 5/6 spot. I think he'll make the team, obviously, but he's still grinding to make it. His numbers are 20.5, so I'm gonna take the more on that, and then I'll just lay this one right in there for UFC fans out there. I'm taking Khamzat Chimaev for less than 3.5 takedowns. He's been pretty much a takedown machine his whole career, but he's fighting Dricus du Plessis, and Dricus is, I don't think there's going to be too many takedowns because both these guys are pretty maniacal about it, but I'm going to take less than that.
I love the UFC. That is good. Now you got to be better than sometimes when Catch gives us the soccer ones, because those always seem to be a little sketchy, but that is so original. I'm all chips in on that one, Cody.
Good. Glad to hear it.
All right, man. Hey, you guys see it. You see the promo code Orange Bloods. Play $5 to get 50. We'll be back next week. Go out there and make yourself some money. You guys take care.